Guess who's live? Live again. Okay, so I'm live again. The reason why I'm live now is because, well, I want to test out this camera. Or actually, I want to test out my connection, see if it doesn't like disconnect over and over again. Because I was having connection problems with other live streams that I've done using this new computer setup that I've got. So I'm going to try to ride this one out at least for 10 minutes just to see if it doesn't disconnect. And hopefully if I start getting awesome questions, then obviously I'll answer your questions here live on this live stream. I guess some topics are on my mind right now while I wait for more people to join us is synchronicity and the law of attraction. So yeah, I've made plenty of videos on that. But I think it's a fascinating topic because I notice when I start to pay attention to synchronicities and whatnot, it's like magic just starts to happen over and over again. For example, I might be like thinking about somebody who I think is just like not going to contact me or something. For one, usually the best example is you're thinking about someone who you haven't had contact with in years, and then they just give you like a text message or they give you a call the next day. Or sometimes you might see like a song or a video that they used to be your favorite song or video with that person or something. You start to see more things that remind you of that person you were thinking about. But a lot of times that person happens to just contact you out of nowhere. Or, maybe you miss someone, like you're sad, you miss someone and maybe you lost contact with them. Maybe, who knows, like something crazy could happen and whatever, but you just don't believe that they're going to contact you. You don't believe it's possible. And then they contact you out of nowhere. That synchronicity, and that's generally an extension of what people call the law of attraction. For those of you who are just joining, go ahead and feel free and ask me your questions, and I'll answer them live. But on one hand of things, I think it's very important to acknowledge synchronicities, but at the same time, I don't think it's a good idea to attach synchronicities. Okay. Sasa Mohammed says, I feel depression and can't control my emotions. And I have low willpower. Any advice with taking L-tyrosine? Okay, so you say you have depression and can't control your emotions and you have low willpower. So your low willpower, your depression, and your emotions have nothing to do with supplements you're taking. It's very important that we understand supplements are not going to really like take care of a lack of willpower and a lack of control. Really what it sounds like you're dealing with is a lack of control. You can't control your own mind. You can't control your own motivation. Tyrosine can help. It can help you feel good. It can help you feel motivated. But it's not going to solve your problem for you. So how would you develop willpower? So, I mean, that's going to really feel like you're deep in quicksand and you've got to crawl and claw your way out of it. You've got to really climb your way out of this quicksand of depression and low mood and a lack of control over your mind and willpower. And what you got to do is small goals every day equals big success. Little by little, piece by piece, develop your willpower. A really good tool that you can use to help you control your mind and your willpower is sort of force yourself to read books, okay? One book at a time. Start with something factual, okay? So it's nonfiction books, right? So self-help books are a good thing for you. I'm thinking from what you're telling me, you should probably read the book Awakening the Giant by Anthony Robbins. order that book, and read it not for the information, but read it to develop your willpower and to develop control of your mind. Okay, so meditation is what most people would recommend in order to develop what I'm telling you you need. Um, to develop the willpower, develop the mind control, develop your focus, which is really what you're lacking right now. Meditation is what people would recommend, but I'm telling you to read a book because it'll develop all the same faculties that meditation would, and it's easier. It's a lot easier to read a book and follow the words, especially if it's a book about overcoming depression, which this book really is. It's about developing an awesome life and conquering your mind and conquering your life. So not only will you be training your brain, you'll be training your brain. You'll be training your brain to focus and training your brain you're controlling your brain, training your brain to control itself or whatever. But you're also going to be reading a book about depression and emotions and low willpower. Now, as far as tyrosine, start with 500 milligrams in the morning, 500 in the evening. Take it on an empty stomach. And then you can experiment with 1 gram in the morning on empty stomach, 2 grams on empty stomach, and maybe try intermittent fasting as well. Because intermittent fasting, once you hit the 18-hour mark, it increases norepinephrine. It increases feelings of euphoria and focus, which can help with your willpower. And also, just the very act of denying food for that long period of time is training your willpower, and it's training your control. Do you know about Letting Go book? Sasa Mohammed, could you ask me that question? I'm going to assume that you're not very savvy with English. That's fine. So are you asking me if I know about a book about letting go? Letting Go book? Yeah, honestly, I eat Parmesan cheese. No, don't eat Parmesan cheese. Take a tyrosine supplement on an empty stomach. So Parmesan cheese, pretty much any protein food is high in tyrosine. Okay. If you eat chicken, it's high in tyrosine. If you eat beef, it's high in tyrosine. All these blogs and these articles that claim, oh, if you want to increase dopamine, eat foods that are high in tyrosine. Fuck that. As long as you're eating adequate protein, you're not going to eat like specific foods to increase tyrosine. What you need, if you're looking for a pharmacological result, if you're looking for a significant like boost in your motivation, you're not going to get that from eating foods that are high in amino acids. You need to actually take the supplement tyrosine on an empty stomach in the morning. Okay. Yeah. So, and letting go. So in your particular situation, it sounds to me like you probably shouldn't focus on letting go. Reading books on letting go might not help you. What you sound like you need specifically is to read Tony Robbins' Awaken the Giant Within, because that book is about developing a great life, conquering your mind, and it's about letting go of old habits. And it is about letting go, but it's about replacing the old with the new, basically. So not only is that book about developing an awesome life, but you'll be developing those skills of willpower and controlling your emotions and controlling your mind by the very art of forcing yourself to read that book. But don't give up. Dedicate like 30 minutes to an hour every single day on reading that book. And don't get sidetracked. Don't scroll. Another thing is social media. So surfing through the news feed, searching through Instagram and these types of things. What they do is they hijack your willpower. They force your brain to be on autopilot. And it can be very difficult to let go of the habit of scrolling through the news feed. So I highly recommend looking into No Surf on Reddit. No Surf is a community of people who they basically avoid any kind of internet activity that involves scrolling because it puts your brain on autopilot and it trains your brain to be scatterbrained, and it's the very opposite of willpower. It's like taking away your willpower. So if you guys have any other questions, post them in the comments and I will be happy, more than happy to answer your questions on this live stream. I knew that low dose. Okay, so low dopamine. Okay, so here's the thing. Like I said, L-tyrosine is a very effective supplement so it will increase dopamine. Yeah, tyrosine will increase dopamine. Tyrosine will also make you feel better. But what I'm telling you is your problem is not low dopamine. Your problem is low willpower, a lack of control of your emotions, and depression. Taking tyrosine will help you feel better, but it's not going to solve your problems for you. You're not going to just take a tyrosine supplement and magically have willpower. You're not going to take a tyrosine supplement and then automatically have control over your emotions. What you have to understand is, and this is the reason why antidepressant drugs have a high failure rate and why most psychoactive drugs have a high failure rate, or they work for a little while and then they stop working. Part of it is because your brain builds a tolerance, but the main reason is because depression is not primarily caused by a chemical imbalance. Low willpower is not caused by low dopamine. Lack of control of emotions and depression, they're not caused by serotonin or dopamine. They're influenced by dopamine and serotonin. If you have good dopamine status and you have good serotonin status, you'll feel good, but you're going to have times in your life where you experience these problems. Everybody does, regardless of their dopamine. So what I'm telling you is tyrosine will help you, but it's not going to solve your problem. And so what you need to do is train yourself to be able to control your emotions. Train yourself to have willpower. You do that through meditation or through some kind of dedicated focus work, which is why I recommend reading a book. And I recommended that particular book, Awakening the Giant from Within by Tony Robbins, because it talks about the very problems you're struggling with. So if you want, take a tyrosine supplement because it'll help you, but you should also have some method of training your focus, training your willpower, and training your emotional control. So any other questions, post them here in the comments and I will be more than happy to answer them for you. By the way, everybody watching this, always remember, it's very beneficial to take a deep breath. Okay, so Sasa Mohammed, first of all, like I said, so tyrosine has been very beneficial for me. And not only does it boost mood, but it also does boost willpower. So like I said, definitely take it. But keep in mind, so first of all, when you say that you read a lot, what do you mean? How do you read exactly? What type of books do you read? How long do you spend reading at a time? Do you take notes when you read? How often do you read? Because saying you read a lot, it can mean many different things. Also, you say you have low willpower. So how can you read a book if you have low willpower? What do you mean by low willpower? So what do you mean by you can't control your emotions? And what do you mean when you say you have low willpower? You read many self-help books. So tell me, what do you mean when you say you can't control your emotions? And what do you mean when you say you have low willpower? Because like I was saying before, tyrosine will help, but it's not going to solve your problem. Uh, Neurotransmitter imbalances, that's a funny word. So first of all, I don't know if you know this, but the very act of reading a book is actually going to change your neurochemistry. The very act of getting angry or getting sad or getting happy, all of these things influence your neurochemical balance to a significant degree. The idea of neurotransmitter imbalances in psychiatry is, in my opinion, extremely flawed. And there's a wide variety of other scientists who also agree. Now, again, tyrosine can definitely help you with your willpower, and it can help you with your motivation, and it can help to boost your happiness. But I'm just trying to shed some light on some deeper issues you might actually be having that you might not be aware. Because I can tell you, so many people that I've done consultations with have come to me for supplement recommendations, but in reality, they're suffering from a very clear lifestyle issue that they have to solve. And it's very common for people to go through supplement after supplement after supplement, trying to feel good, trying to get more willpower, more motivation, but in reality, they're just not doing the things that so I kind of like the Nike slogan, just do it. So it depends on the problem you're suffering from. So like, for example, I'll wake up in the morning and I know I have jujitsu class at 11:30, but I don't feel like going. I feel tired. I just want to lay in my bed. That's not a neurochemical imbalance there. That's just me feeling a certain way, but your feelings don't really mean much in that regard. If I just get my ass to the gym and go to jujitsu, then I don't need motivation. And hi, Humanimal. Hello there. Merry Christmas, sir. So a big part of willpower is to just not need willpower. Instead of needing willpower, instead of willpower, like even thinking about willpower, a lot of times it's just going out and doing the thing that you think you need willpower for. As far as controlling your emotions, it depends on what the context is. So for example, if I'm feeling depressed, it's probably better not for me to try to stop the depression. Okay. If you go to any qualified psychiatrist or psychologist or therapist or counselor, a lot of times they'll tell you, if you're feeling depressed, stop running away from the depression and instead just allow yourself to feel it. But just because you're depressed doesn't mean that you should also avoid the things you need to do during that day. You should allow yourself to feel the emotion, but don't let that emotion guide your behavior, if that makes sense. So I might feel depressed, but I'm still going to go to work. I'm still going to go to jujitsu, still going to go to the gym. Now, if you feel prolonged depression, a lot of times it is lingering thoughts in the background. And there are cognitive reframing techniques you can use, which would be viewing the thing you're depressed about in a different light. I believe Tony Robbins actually talks about it in that book, Awaken the Giant Within. You could view the situation differently, or you could just stop thinking about the situation completely, and you could force yourself to distract it. Again, it all really depends on what it is that's causing the depression. It depends on what it is that you're trying to control the thoughts and emotions about. If it's something that is just like, there's no way. If if it's something that there's nothing that you can do about it, like you're just hopeless at changing, like let's say, I don't know, you did something in the past that you regret doing, but it happened years ago and there's nothing you can do to change it. Can you go back and change it? No, obviously not. Are you still in contact with that person? If you are, then do you think they remember that situation? If they don't, then don't bring it up because it doesn't matter. If they do, then maybe just bring it up to them and say you're sorry about it or whatever it is. But the point here is if you can't do anything to change the situation, then you're going to have to just move on and let go. Okay, so you feel guilty and shame for no reason. So I would say that there's always a reason, and you should probably go to a qualified psychologist. I would say a clinical psychologist is probably someone that you should probably talk to. Clinical psychologist. So not a psychiatrist. Don't go to someone who's going to just put you on medications unless you feel suicidal or something. Medications, I believe, should be used as a last resort when you feel like suicidal or you can't control your actions. You feel like you're going to do something crazy. You should go to see a psychiatrist in that regard. But for a situation where you just feel these emotions and don't know why, and they're bothering you, a clinical psychologist or a counselor, I think a clinical psychologist is a good go because they deal with more deep-rooted psychological issues that are more on the verge of disease, if that makes sense. Disease in the sense of like they're chronic issues that seem much like chronic issues outside of the normal things that cause depression. Like, for example, if you go through a breakup and feel depressed, a counselor is a good person to see. If someone died in your family, a lot of times a counselor is a good person to see. If you feel depressed about your job, a counselor is someone you can see. But if you feel guilty and you feel shameful and you don't know why, I think a clinical psychologist is a good person to see because that sounds like it could be stemming from some kind of trauma. And, I believe that there are some licensed counselors who might work with things like that, but I know clinical psychologists usually take those types of issues. But I would recommend also Sasa Mohammed. Subscribe to my friend Melissa Arroyo. Subscribe to her YouTube channel because she's actually a clinical, or she's actually a counselor herself, and she does deal with things like grieving and whatnot. And she's been making a lot of videos recently. Yes, Sasa, I really hope that you find help. Honestly, I do believe that whatever you're dealing with, you could figure out the issue. Try the tyrosine, and if you do try the tyrosine, make sure you leave a comment and let me know. Like, comment on one of my videos and let me know how the tyrosine worked for you. Okay, try 1 gram in the morning, 1 gram on an empty stomach. Okay, tyrosine supplement. Try Now Foods tyrosine. Take it on an empty stomach. And also try taking tyrosine again, like in the afternoon on an empty stomach if you can. Because that'll probably help you, but also try seeing a clinical psychologist. And check out my friend Melissa's channel as well. In fact, I'm going to try to link her channel if I could find it real quick. I'll find her channel and link it. Let's see if I could find it. I have a YouTube video called The Circle of Health where I feature her, and it has her channel on there. Let's see. Right. I think this is it. Yeah, her channel. Yeah, is that it? Yeah, this is it. This looks like an old channel. Oh no, that's her channel. All right. Yes, here we go. All right. So, Salsa, if you're still with me, I recommend you subscribe to my friend Melissa right there. I just sent the link to her channel. Go and subscribe to her channel, and I'll actually send her a message and tell her to make a video specifically about feeling guilty and shameful for no reason, and maybe she'll have some insights for you. Maybe we'll make a collaboration video about that. But she might have some insight. So social anxiety. Yeah, so that's so Humanimal. That's an interesting channel name. So Humanimal. It gets worse without help. Yeah. You know, I think it's important to get help for some of these problems. Thank you for subscribing to her channel. She's awesome. And yeah, I think it's important to get help for these types of problems because, they can consume your life. And if you don't get help for them, they can just kind of like continue on in the background and continue to affect your life without you developing proper strategies to handle it. Over time, it can build up and build up. And the key, though, is not just to get help, but to get help from somebody who can work with you in the way that you feel is helpful. So what I mean is that a lot of times you can go to a psychologist or a counselor, and for whatever reason you just don't click with them, or maybe their method of therapy is not effective for you and what you're dealing with. So you got to find a counselor or a therapist that works good for you. Okay. Because a lot of people, they go to one therapist and it doesn't work so well for whatever reason. Maybe they're the type of person who just lays back and tells you to control your thoughts or something, and they don't dive deep into your emotions. And maybe you want a deeper emotional type of therapy or whatever. And so you just got to fish around and find someone who works for you, because some people just give up. They find someone they're not really working well, and they just give up on therapy altogether. But I think it is important, and it definitely does help. Yeah, and definitely don't try to hide your problems through alcohol. Yeah. So, again, one of the big things, so social anxiety is something that I had dealt with for, like a couple, like 2, maybe 3 years. But, because I research these things so extensively, and I'm very meticulous and determined about, if I have a problem, I just obsess over it till I fix it. And I was able to overcome my social anxiety to a crazy degree, to where like I'm literally not affected at all by any kind of social pressure anymore. Like I used to walk into social situations and just be overwhelmed with like that pounding feeling of other people's potential judgments and some of these things. But I used to have really bad panic attacks and things. But now when I walk into social situations, I'm so fucking detached from like what other people think and all these other things, that I'm not affected in the least bit. And I purposely try to have the best attitude in the building now. And I don't care what people say. Most of the time people react pretty positively to me, but every now and then I'll have someone who I think is like jealous of my positive attitude, and they'll like snap at me. They'll be like, tell me to calm down or something stupid like that. And I just deflect it back at them. It's never, you can never have too much good energy, is what I tell them. And it hurts them so bad. You got to understand what people tell you says more about them and where they're at rather than where you're at. So not to take it personally, but anyway, in regard to social anxiety, the biggest thing is understand that there's literally nothing bad that can happen to you in a social situation that affects you directly, unless you say something stupid. And what I mean is, so a lot of times people with social anxiety, they're very scared of saying something that they'll be judged for, or they're scared that maybe they're going to be like, demoted from the group or something, or they're going to sound stupid, or they're going to be embarrassed. Those are like really common things that people are kind of like attached to when they have social anxiety. But a key here is understanding that 9 times out of 10, most people are so caught up in their own world. And also, most people have those very same anxieties that you have, but they just don't talk about it much, so you don't know. And so they're so caught up in their own anxieties, and they're so caught up in their own little world that they spend very little energy actually, judging you as much as you might think. So that's the first thing, is that they're more concerned about you judging them. You just don't realize it. So it's kind of irrational to be afraid of other people's judgment. The other thing is, even if someone does judge you, who the fuck cares? You've got to remove the threat from the situation. And when you remove the threat from the situation, the anxiety goes with it. Because anxiety is just perceiving a threat. And that feeling of social anxiety, you may not be aware of it, but there's something threatening about that situation. You've got to identify it. And when you do, then you've got to find a way to either numb yourself to that perceived threat, or you've got to detach yourself from the situation. And I'll tell you what I did that worked really, really well for me to remove social anxiety. This is something I learned from Tim Ferriss, I believe. Basically, it was a Stoic experiment where in 2014, I talk about this all the time because it's amazing. 2014, I went full like raw vegan fruitarian, and anyone who's followed fruitarianism for a while knows that that's when you really go off the deep end and you just go fucking crazy. But basically, I went fruitarian and I stopped shampooing my hair. I stopped showering. My mom like hated it. I would use coconut oil and I just slick my hair back because I used to have hair, and I would just slick my hair back with coconut oil. And I would use apple cider vinegar sometimes. I smell horribly like vinegar, and I'd look all greasy. And I didn't shower for like weeks, and because I had a skin problem actually. And so I had a really bad skin problem, psoriasis. So I was just like, I was scared of dating girls, because if they saw me naked, they see my psoriasis. So I said, fuck it. I needed to, if I have psoriasis, I have to deal with this or whatever. I just shouldn't care. So I just didn't shower for a while, because showering would hurt my psoriasis even more. And so I just didn't shower for a while, and I went out in public wearing whatever clothes I wanted to wear. I didn't dress anymore to impress. I didn't put on any fancy clothes because I thought I looked good in them. I just wore whatever clothes I felt was comfortable. And so I wore like lime green shirts and pink shorts and whatnot. And I was all greasy and didn't shower, and I smelled. And I went out into public, and I even went on dates. I went on dates with girls. And I went to my doctor's appointments and everything, just completely fucked up. And I would even train clients with my personal training. And this was really stupid, but I did it anyway. Just dressed in this like ridiculously baggy watermelon colored clothing. And surprisingly, no one gave a shit. No one cared. I didn't get any like comments or anything from anyone other than my mom. My mom was the only person who said anything, because that's just the way she is. And so what happened? I actually ended up so there's a couple girls who I started dating, not like long term, but I was like they were interested. I was dating them. They would go to my house. They cleaned my house. They would cook me food and stuff like that. And then eventually, when I stopped the experiment, it was like 4 or 5 months. I stopped the experiment because some girl insisted on showering me and insisted on cleaning my skin and whatnot, and cleaning my hair and trimming me up or whatever. So my stoic experiment where I just didn't shower and I just dressed all stupid, it it ended up with a girl grooming me for myself. Is what happened. So what did I learn from that stoic experiment? Number one, no one gives a shit about your appearance. No one cares if you look crazy. The only thing people care about is that you don't threaten them. You don't make fun of them, in an obnoxious way. You don't act like you're on drugs or something. As long as you don't act like you're on drugs, you don't act in a way that makes them scared, you know, 9 times out of 10, they don't care. I literally dressed up like a fucking watermelon who didn't fucking shower, probably looked crazy and looked homeless, but they didn't care. And it ended up with a girl saying, Wolfgang, stop this bullshit experiment. Let me shower you. Let me trim you. Let me buy you some new clothes. And that was the end of the experiment. She said it felt like she was adopting a caveman. Like she went and found a caveman in the wild and she was teaching him how to deal with society. That's what she said. And then that was the end of my social anxiety. That fucking shit was the end of my social anxiety. But something that helped me though, yeah, well, I like to look good too. But here's the thing. So it's one thing to like to look good. Like right now, like the clothes I'm wearing, I thought look good. I don't spend any more than 5 minutes a day thinking about what I'm going to wear. And I generally have a pretty good selection of clothes that I know I look good in, that I wear just by default. Like I wear this shirt all the time. I have multiple of these shirts, but the problem is a lot of people place too much emphasis on how they look. So here's the thing. If I look bad, I don't care. Like there's times where my beard just grows out of control and my hair grows out of control. And I'll probably look pretty fucked up, but I don't care anymore. As soon as I feel thoughts creep into my head, like, oh, you probably look stupid with that hair, I just let go of it because I don't want to care how I look. I don't want to waste energy on that. And way too many people worry way too much about their physical appearance. And what happens is they walk into a social situation and they're self-conscious. If you ever notice you have thoughts like oh shit, is my shirt tight enough, or do I look fat, or these types of things, you need to do something about that. You're wasting energy. In Chinese medicine, they call it leaking jing. Okay, but I don't waste any of my energy on that bullshit. Okay, I don't fucking dress for anyone else's validation, and no one gives a damn. No one gives a damn like what you wear. Do you really nowadays I realize how stupid it is, like how funny it is. Like, do you really think random strangers at the grocery store, they're gonna be like, oh, that one bald guy, who fucking like with the tattoos and whatnot, and the muscles, like he had like his beard needed to be trimmed, fucking ugly ass. Like, who the fuck spends time talking about random strangers and how bad they look? Insecure people do, but do you really want to be socially anxious because insecure people might judge you about how bad you look to make themselves feel better? It's kind of dumb. Let me see. I sometimes can't leave the house quickly. Having a default outfit is a good idea. There are things I have to wear when I'm struggling. And look, I do agree. I have my odd style, being inoffensive to others. Yeah. Look, personally, I don't give a shit about, like, I don't want to waste my fucking life because some dumbass might judge me. Like, I don't care. And I don't think I don't think it, so. Anyone who's struggling with social anxiety, the last thing you need to do, like the worst thing you can do, is care about how you fucking look, because that's a major source of most people's social anxiety. Looking good is one thing if it makes you feel good. But if you place too much importance on your physical appearance, what can happen is, like, if for whatever reason, like you have a reason to not look good in your own head, now all of a sudden that can be a source of anxiety. For me, I understand my vibe attracts my tribe, and I place more emphasis on how effective I am in the world, and I place more emphasis on how I feel, really, because I know if I feel good, I can make any situation work. Okay, and yeah, so check this out. Here's a good one. So let's say that let's say you're late to work. Okay, you're late to work, and you know your boss is going to ask you about it, and you get to work late, and your boss confronts you. What do you think is going to help you more? If you look really good, or if you're feeling confident meaning you care more about how you function with your boss rather than how sharp you look. What's going to help you more, if you're feeling good or if you are looking good when you're dealing with your boss who's confronting you after getting to work late? I would say, regardless of how good you look or how confident that might make you feel, it's the inner game and how confident you are in your abilities that are going to help you deal with that situation most effectively, in my opinion. I don't think your boss is even going to take enough time to really observe your outfit at that time. Also, and this is a big thing, is, this is also why guys typically will fuck up when they go on dates with girls, is that they allow their external circumstances, like their looks or what kind of car they drive, they allow that to kind of influence their confidence. Like you have to dress good in order to feel good about yourself. I don't place importance on anything other than like inside of me, because I know there's going to be a time where I dress up all nice and perfect, right? Let's say for a date, and then I dump ketchup on my fucking shirt. Okay. You can allow that shit to like affect your mood and your confidence if you want, but that's your choice. For me, I know that I ultimately, inside of myself, I control how I act and feel about myself and how I perceive that mustard thing. And I know that mustard thing is literally not affecting my performance on a date or anything like that whatsoever. If the girl makes a big deal about the mustard stain, I could deal with that if I have my inner world taken care of. But if I place too much importance on my external sharpness and how good I look, that mustard stain could be the end of the line for me. And I know too many people who they'll be like, oh, that fucking mustard stain, damn it, I'm gonna have to go home and change my shirt, but then I'll be late for the date, and then it causes all these problems that, like, literally, if you just go on the date with the mustard stain and you played it off properly, and you're just like, yeah, I got a fucking mustard stain, you want to lick it off, or so, I just whatever the fuck. If you don't let that mustard stain get to you, you can make that whole date go by like amazing. But if you let that mustard stain be the obstacle, that could just fuck everything up. So my point is, like, look good, but don't place too much importance on it. Place most of your importance on who you are as a person, how you deal with the external world. And, I welcome chaos. Like, I welcome the mustard stain. I want a fucking mustard stain to get on me when I go to some kind of, like, if I go on a date or if I go on an important job interview or something, I'm fine with a mustard stain. As long as it's not too crazy. If it's a job interview, I can understand that might actually not be a good thing. But what if I'm about to walk in my job interview and a bird shits on me? I've actually had something happen like that before. I've had a bird shit on me twice before a music show that I was playing, because I was a vocalist, and I actually made that into a joke on stage. I actually have. But what if that happens? Like, you get shot on by a bird. on your, like, you're walking in the job interview. What are you gonna do? You're just gonna call it off? Or are you gonna be like, oh, I got shot by a bird. Damn it, now my interview's fucked. No, I'm gonna laugh about it. I'm gonna be like, damn, I got shot on by a bird. Fuck it, I'm gonna do this fucking interview and I'm gonna get this fucking job. But you know, that's the key, is people need to learn how to flip a switch. And you know, too many people, they rely on things like my neurotransmitters are out of balance, or my fucking suit's not sharp enough, or you know, my teeth aren't wide enough, or my beard is not trimmed. I need to like oil my beard. Like my mom, her husband, like is like really big about like beard oil and whatnot. And they were really trying to push this fucking beard oil shit on me. They're telling me they want to give me some for Christmas and all this crap. And it's like, I appreciate the gesture, but I'm not going to like take the time to use it. I don't really care how oiled my beard looks. As long as I don't eat my beard when I eat food, you know, and it doesn't look too like chaotic, I don't care. And so a lot of people might hear that and whatever, I don't really care. Like, yeah, I don't even remember where I was going with that, but I just get a kick out of it. And I just see, like, you go to like a Chinese buffet and you see these people dress up like with diamond necklaces and whatnot, with fake diamond necklaces and high heels and whatnot. And I just don't understand why, like, why would you do that? And I've known people to be, you know, just heavily dependent on that. I just think it's a huge problem. Anyway, so guys, leave me your question in the comments down below, on the fucking comments, and I will answer your questions and whatnot. Being present. Also buffering by no. Yeah, guys, ask me your questions. So I'm actually really happy about this live stream. It's really interesting because I was using Firefox for a while. And when I first got this computer, I was using Firefox and recording these live streams. And I kept getting connection problems and it was disconnecting. And I thought, well, maybe it's like YouTube wanting me to use Chrome, you know, because it seems to be a thing now where they'll censor you if you like use the wrong words, or they'll limit your bandwidth if you're using the wrong like service provider or something. And so switching to Chrome, I actually haven't had any connection issues at all. It used to disconnect me after 10 minutes and it would be lagging like crazy. So you all, leave me your questions, ask me your questions, and I will answer them here live on this live stream. So for those of you who are watching, I was feeling kind of depressed before, but doing this live stream has totally improved my mood, actually. It's kind of got me into a flow state. Ask me your questions, you all. Chili Belly. Ask me your questions. I will answer them live. Yeah, buddy. All right, guys, ask me your questions. Let's go. Hell yeah, even though I'm only going to delete that, a roundhouse kick to my face. Shoot. It's interesting to me how, just how ignorant the average person is of how easily it is to like whoop someone's ass when you actually train martial arts. And I don't mean ignorant in a bad thing. It's not like a bad thing. Ignorant just means, ignorant technically, I guess you'd say it means ignoring. But ignorant it just means like they're unaware, like they're lacking information that's like vitally important for them to see the accurate truth. Um, you know, yeah, it's interesting. Like you see street fights where, some guy grabs a guy from behind, suplexes his head into the pavement, and then he just like dies in the pavement. Like that's pretty bad, and I'd recommend, even if you are a trained fighter, to like avoid street fights at all costs. But a lot of people don't realize like swinging your arms around with your friends is completely different from like learning footwork, learning how to punch in angles. Like if you really learn how to fight, and you learn good footwork and angles and proper technique on your strikes, you can get to a point where some street fighter guy can't even touch you. And generally, especially if he doesn't have good conditioning, which they usually don't, you could constantly just use your footwork and head movement to dodge everything he throws at you, make him run out of breath, and then just one fucking kick to the face. Well, knockouts usually don't happen that soon, but someone who doesn't train, they'll happen pretty fucking fast. It really becomes more of a game of chance when you have two people who don't know how to fight. It's a game of chance. Like whoever gets the first lucky shot usually. But yeah, so come on, y'all. There's like 7 people online. Ask me your questions. And I will be making a lot more videos on social anxiety and anxiety in general, stress and depression. I don't suffer from those issues anymore, which is why I guess I don't make as many videos about them as I used to. But I don't really even think about them as much. I don't really even, but because I've conquered them so extensively, and I've done so much research on them, like I have so much to say because I kind of feel like I've conquered that sector to a pretty significant degree. So, whoever's watching right now, I'll tell you this. A really big thing is you may be experiencing anxiety or social anxiety or whatever, but a big thing is just to not let that anxiety guide your behavior. Don't let that anxiety like control the way you interact with people. And for me, when I was in the heat of my anxiety, it was so bad. Everyone I would meet, I'd be like, "Oh, sorry," like, "How do you deal with anxiety, or do you feel anxiety?" And I always talk about the anxiety of other people, and it would kind of like hinder the natural flow of social interactions. And a big thing that some people can do is they could start to try to enter interactions with the intention of looking for fun or looking for ease, setting the intention. A lot of times can help, because I think a lot of people probably they're not aware of this, but there's something called the reticular activating system. And now that I'm thinking about this, I remember when I was dealing with anxiety, I was kind of like subconsciously or unconsciously looking for more anxiety. And I was expecting the anxiety to come up. I was expecting people to look at me a certain way. And it was actually just constantly reinforcing my feelings of anxiety and constantly putting me in situations that would feed me more anxiety. But, I've gone on this entire like live stream, just basically, talking to the people who are watching, but someone who's in the room with me right now, they think I'm just like talking to a camera. How the fuck do you fucking maintain like this type of flow state with your communication? Talking to a webcam, right? For a long extended period of time. Obviously, this can in and of itself develop the skills and attributes necessary to detach yourself from anxiety. Like it's like getting yourself into a flow state on a regular basis. I think that's key. and presence. Presence. I mean, this is a form of presence, really. Not being attached, like detaching yourself from the situation, because anxiety is just extreme attachment, really. So I'm gonna keep running this here for maybe another 6 minutes. And so if I don't get questions here before the next 5 minutes, I'm just gonna end the stream. But so ask me your questions. Let's see. How do you get used to losing? Rexalio. So be more specific if possible. How do you get used to losing? What do you mean? Losing at what? I would say don't get used to losing. If you lose, use that as motivation to win next time, depending on what you're talking about. If you're talking about like a competition of some kind, like if I lost a grappling competition or something, definitely don't get used to losing. That would be like the stupidest like intent. Yeah, like I'm gonna fucking just like get used to losing. Like, yeah, it's okay if I lose. Like I'm fucking used to it. You know, like losing in stocks. Don't get used to losing in stocks. That's a very because you're gonna like run yourself into how not to get discouraged, huh? Well, so first of all, be realistic. That's probably a really good place to start. Be realistic. So it's so if your goals are like larger are too large, your goals are too large. If your goals are too large to the point where like you can't make small steps to achieve those goals, you can set yourself up for discouragement, and a lack of motivation will happen because you need little steps to reach success in order to keep the courage going. And in order to keep the motivation going, those little steps got to motivate you. If you have, if we're talking about money, we're talking about stocks. So I don't know enough about stocks and things like that. My best friend though, he has investments in many different things, but he's not with me here. But he doesn't lose; he's a winner. And I believe for him, it has to do with developing tactics and being very methodical and recognizing patterns. Recognizing patterns is a big part of all that. Recognizing the trends, and that actually helps him not lose. And he doesn't get discouraged in regards to stocks and things like that, because if he's losing in the stocks, he already knows when it's gonna bump back up, and he knows when to take advantage of it. So he's just studied enough and became good at it enough to where he knows he knows what to expect. And if you know what to expect, then you're less likely to lose. And if you're less likely to lose, or if you're more likely to, if you know what to expect, obviously, then you're not going to get discouraged. There's no reason to be discouraged. But for other things, so let's say, so let's see. So yeah, I mean, stocks, that would be the thing. Study it deeper. Get to know the trends and the patterns. Read more books on the subject. That way you can develop a proper strategy to where you win more. So of course, if you lose over and over again, you're going to get discouraged. So maybe if you do the same thing over and over again, you're going to get the same result. So it might be a good idea to maybe change your focus, or change your method, or change your aim, change the subject completely. Agree, but losing is inevitable. For me, it's hard to methodologically follow the strategy after a long streak of losers, even if I have a good long-term edge. Yeah, I mean, look, if you are following a strategy where you really do know what to expect, and you really do have a long-term edge, then you're not going to get discouraged. But Let me ask you, are you specifically talking about stocks? Um, are you specifically talking about stocks? Like what is it that that you are that you are feeling discouraged about exactly? 'Cause if it's stocks, I can't really give as much specific information on that. Because that deals with extreme financial ups and downs. So that's a pretty risky area as well. So that is going to be that's going to be all about your approach and all about delivering results. Because it's kind of like, let's say somebody who's trying to lose weight, for example. I think this is actually a good example that applies to your stock situation. Somebody's trying to lose weight. They're 400 pounds. They've tried the South Beach diet. They've tried the vegan diet. They've tried the low carb diet or whatever. They tried all these different diets and they've been doing it for years. And they might lose some weight, but then they gain it all back. And none of the methods that they've tried have worked. And they're wondering how to get used to losing, meaning like, how do I get used to not getting any results with all this effort I put in? And then how to overcome being discouraged. Well, what you got to do is you've got to find something that works to produce results. Honestly, that's the only thing you can do. And if for whatever reason you just can't, then you're going to have to, like, if you you're going to have to find some kind of method that works. There's no other way around it. So in regards to stocks, maybe find a trade or something that produces a large amount of money that you think you can do. Maybe stocks is just not something that is good for you to invest your time in. So change the method within the stocks. Study it deeper. And if that is not going to work for you, find something else to make money, like real estate investment. Again, like my best friend, he does real estate investment. I mean, he's got a lot of different revenue streams now, actually. Now I think about it, he's going to be balling. He was in the stocks. He was doing the real estate, military. Now he's getting out of military. He's going to get another doctorate degree. He's already got a Chinese medicine degree. That guy is just, I never really thought about it, but pretty crazy actually. How to tackle these ups and downs emotionally, not even stocks, but in general. Yeah, I mean, yeah, well, honestly, if you can be specific about the problem that you're facing, because I feel like these are all kind of like different things. If you can just be specific about what it is you're dealing with, I can give you some very solid and accurate advice. So how to get used to losing? Just develop a proper strategy for winning. That's what you should do. Do not get used to losing, especially if it's stocks or finances. How to not get discouraged? Well, you need to believe, you need to have faith in your abilities. You need to have faith that no matter what happens, you're going to persevere regardless. If it deals with money, then you need to be very realistic about what it is you're doing and find an avenue to produce that money in a way you're comfortable with, that you believe you can do. So there's that. Losing is not inevitable either. Okay, that's, if you believe losing is inevitable, guess what's going to happen? You're going to fucking lose, because inevitable means it's unavoidable. Losing's not unavoidable. Losing is not inevitable. Okay, failure, like you're gonna fail, like you're gonna have obstacles. Okay, but you have to understand that every single thing in life, it's first of all, it's small steps over time equals big results. I have that up on my wall here because that's the most important lesson anyone can ever learn. It's impossible for me to get discouraged if I understand that big results is the sum of like small progress made over long periods of time. because I know if I fail today, that doesn't mean like the whole fucking year is a failure. Um, so, you know, having realistic short-term, long-term, mid-term goals is important. You know, but again, it really depends on what exactly we're talking about here, you know. It really does, but um, let's see. It depends on what you're talking about, you know. If we're talking about like dating and whatnot, if we're talking about like losing with the opposite sex, that is a lot of times a psychological issue. You know, like it's very common for guys to have like felt like to constantly fail with the relationships, or constantly fail with girls or whatever, and to always get dumped or whatever. That's usually a psychological issue, and that's a very hard thing to crack because it's attached to a man's ego. Men usually don't want to uh, admit when they have these serious deep-rooted flaws, and that's the exact reason why they can't overcome their problem. Like, because they can't admit that they're being like, I'm not even going to say it because these people will not be able to accept it. They hear it and they'll project all their insecurities onto me, and they're just going to continue to stay stuck. But yeah, that dating and having female trouble is almost always like just a terrible problem that men cannot crack. Like, no advice in the world can help them because it's their ego that's getting in their way almost always. Um, losing let's say if you so another thing is so first of all, if you have a history of failure, or you have a history of losing, and then especially if you're asking questions like how to not get discouraged, how to get used to losing, you maybe, and to me it sounds like maybe you identify as a failure. You identify as somebody who always loses. And it sounds to me like you expect for yourself to continue to lose. You want to get used to losing, you want to not get discouraged. You're expecting yourself to lose. Trading, in a way, when you can lose, for example, 10 trades in a row and then have a big winner that, oh yeah. So that's why I was asking, for a specific thing. So you're talking about trading. Yeah, that's different. That's totally different. That requires, because you're not just dealing with, that's not something that you yourself can control, because now not only do you have to manipulate whatever it is that you're trading, and then you have to follow the trends in what you're trading, but you're also dealing with like multiple other people who have their own individual psychologies and things in which you cannot change, and it's all about monetary interests and financial incentives and things. So yeah, that's much more complicated, and I would say that that's much more of a logical thing. It's not, so like honestly, I would either study the game, study the game more extensively, or get the fuck out of that. Like, if you're just fed up with it and you're just losing over and over and you're tired of it, get the fuck out of it. But here's the thing. So it depends on how much you're losing. So if you're losing a shit ton of fucking money, you know what I mean? And you have a pattern of like, just like you're losing way more than you're gaining, and you're like feeling discouraged and helpless. For me personally, I would say fuck that. I would get the fuck out of that, and I would invest that money in some type of other trade, or some type of other avenue for gaining more money. But that's just me and my type of individual thing, because let me see. Yeah, you can manipulate your mindset, but again, like if you're losing a shit ton of money and you've been, if it depends on how long you've been doing this too. Maybe give it another year, but it depends on how much you're losing. If you go bankrupt trying to like do whatever trading you're trying to do, I just don't see the point. Um, you could probably do way better in real estate. You could probably do way better investing in like some type of graduate degree type program or something uh, that's a lot better, a lot more sustainable. Maybe it will give you a lot more energy than it takes. Yeah, I mean, it just depends I mean, so if you really are going to be gaining money from what it is, so if let's say that you win some and you lose some, focus more on your winning. And if you really do believe you're going to win money long term, then then focus on what you're winning, but you sound like you're really concerned. So like to me it sounds like you're really concerned about like it sounds like you're just like you're losing a shit ton. Like it sounds to me like you're losing way more than you're winning. So but yeah, if you are winning enough money to justify doing that, then yeah, like focus on your wins. And that's a big thing, no matter what it is that you're doing, just to prevent yourself from being discouraged, you focus on your wins. Okay. And, regular goals, like regular, everyday goals, the small wins are going to be the small progress you make every day. When we're talking about trading stocks and things like that, focus on the deals you win, on the money that you make, rather than the money you lose or the deals or the trades that you lose. That's key. And other than that, like nootropics and things, like I mean, the thing is, you have like a real tangible situation that's creating those feelings of discouragement, like losing money, losing trades. And so you can take something to like some type of nootropic to stop you from feeling discouraged. But you have to understand those feelings of discouragement are there to prevent you from making a serious mistake. Like that's like your biology telling you, hey man, if I keep making these like losing deals or whatever, I might lose my livelihood. At least I believe that's why it's there. So I don't know if you want to get doped up on some nootropics to prevent you from feeling discouraged. But focus on your small wins. And if you're making enough money, if you're making more money than you're losing, then I don't see any reason to feel discouraged. And always make sure you have like a backup plan too, obviously. I'm sure you do. Everyone that I know that trades stocks, except for one dumbass that I know, they all have like a serious like side job to where like if they lose some on stocks, it doesn't really like kill them too much. But yeah, I personally, my philosophy on making money and whatnot is, my reward for working is my enjoyment in what I do. I generally put effort into things that fulfill me on a deep level. And if what I'm doing doesn't have enough soul or doesn't have enough personality, is really what it is. Like if I can't put my personality into something, that's exactly what it is, actually. If I can't put my personality into something, then I don't do it. So, I'm not interested in selling door to door, fucking Spectrum internet services. Like I have a friend who does that and he makes a shit ton of money. I'm not interested in that because I don't feel like there's enough personality. I'm personally not interested in selling stocks myself, even though I might be able to make a shit ton of money if I can do it well. Just because, depending on how much effort I have to put into it, I can't put my personality into it. But at the same time, my friends that do stocks, they don't spend a lot of time doing it and they make bank. So maybe I should start investing in stocks. You actually might have just inspired me to invest in stocks, actually, not you. Now that you brought this up and you got me thinking about it. I'm really sorry if I couldn't help you with that because, I don't want to like, I can't give you specific advice on stocks, but I can tell you focus on the small wins. And if you're really losing too much, just get the fuck out of there. Don't delude yourself. Like, that's my opinion, you know. And for people who are thinking about things like the law of attraction and whatnot, and they're, you know, trying to plug this in, let's say, you know, this is actually a very important thing to bring up. A lot of people in the law of attraction space, they want to believe that, you know, if I just think positively about everything, that I can just make it work. But if you feel bad about something and you like feel bad and you constantly feel bad, and no matter what you do, you keep feeling bad about something, it's time you stop doing that thing that makes you feel bad, and you try to do something that makes you feel good instead, or that you feel better about. And a lot of times you'll end up way better off. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, if you're not trading stocks, like, cause like, that's the thing, like, you know, yeah. So in general, yeah, focus on the small wins, you know, and then get the fuck out of there if you're losing too much. You know, like, let's say I have like an MMA fighter that I'm training for competition, and he gets his ass kicked. We're gonna look at the person's failures. We're gonna look at the person's inadequacies and what they need to work on. And yeah, so if I have a fighter who is who lost his first competition, we're gonna look at what he did wrong, and we're gonna try to work on his weaknesses, and we're gonna try to get him better for his next fight. So then when he comes to his next fight, if he loses his next fight, we're going to see, well, what did you do wrong this time? And we're going to work on that. And we're going to keep looking at, well, we're not going to be hung up on, oh, you lost a fight. We're going to be like, well, why did you lose a fight? And we're going to celebrate that as a small win. Well, at least you went out there and competed. You trained hard for this fight. And, you know, we're going to look at the fight, and is there something you did good this time that we can celebrate? Focus on that small win. But why'd you lose? You know, did you run out of stamina? Were you too nervous? You know, what was it? And we're going to make him better next time. So every time you lose, no matter what it is, like for me personally, no matter what it is, if I fail with, if I lose with a woman, which you know, whatever, you know, if I lose in dating or whatever, if I lose in friendship, if I lose in, you know, fighting or whatever, my financial, like a job or something, whatever it is, I always look back and analyze it, sometimes to my detriment. But one thing is for sure is that looking back on my life and comparing it to a lot of other people's, especially, I fucking learn from my mistakes, and I generally don't make the same mistake twice. And if I do, I don't make the mistake nearly as hard as the first time. So learning from your mistakes is extremely important. And that's how you, instead of getting, you know, that's how you don't get discouraged too. You're not focused on the loss, you're focused on the lesson. So very, very important. Oh, man. So if you guys have any more questions, definitely post them there, and I will answer them. It's actually been a very successful live stream. So if you guys watching can tell me, how is the connection? Is it lagging at all? How's my sound quality? Is it pretty good? Oh, awesome. No lags. Yeah. So fight or flight response. Remember, you can't have a fight or flight response in a situation where there is no perceived threat. So in any of my anxiety videos, the first thing I always mention is the entire reason why you feel fight or flight is because you've been triggered by something that you perceive as a threat. how do you how do you get rid of the fight or flight response? You have to remove your perceived threat. And the best way to do that is to change your perception of the threat. It's you could have, so let's say, you're going through a dark alley and you see a fucking shadow out of nowhere. And like, oh fuck, a shadow, someone's gonna like stab me. Like, you don't know what it is, but you're freaking out because you're perceiving a threat. And you see a shadow and you think it's someone who's gonna stab you. And then the person comes around the corner and it's your mom. And she's like, hey, I've been looking for you. I love you. Where'd you go? All of a sudden, what you thought was a life-ending threat is now like a welcoming, loving situation and a sense of relief. You're like, oh, fuck, I thought that I was going to die, but it's just my mom. That is obviously never going to happen. And it's a hypothetical situation, but it's a perfect example to describe how your perception shapes your anxiety. So the way to remove that anxiety is to change the perception of the threat. And so for me, what I do is I welcome it. So I was mentioning earlier, someone was talking about social anxiety and looking good. And I said, you don't want to rely on your good looks to give you confidence, because then if you get a fucking mustard stain on your clothes, now it's going to ruin your fucking confidence. And so what I do is I welcome the mustard stain. I'm like, yeah, please, like, make me look like shit. No matter how important this thing I'm about to do is, it's very important for your mental dexterity to be able to persevere despite that threat. You want to welcome the chaos, welcome the mustard stain. You want to welcome the judgment of the social group. You want to welcome the panic attack. Like, oh yeah, I want the panic attack. Give me the panic attack. Because, when you welcome the anxiety, it goes away. Because you were perceiving it as a threat, but now you're welcoming it. So it's no longer a threat. But the thing is, people can't feel their way into that. They think, oh no, like this thing that is triggering my fight or flight is so fucking scary. I can't just like trick myself into like welcoming it. But the thing is, you've got to feel your way there. And it's like flipping a switch. And I think part of it is that people, they think that feelings are some kind of real, tangible thing that is inside of them that they can't influence. But that's false. Like, how you feel, you can influence. You just got to find out what makes you tick as an individual. A lot of times you can just repeat affirmations over and over again, and they can sometimes change your feelings. Other times you just got to, like dive into it. But exposure therapy is big. If you're afraid of the dark, go in the fucking dark and just sit there. And if you're going to freak out, it's okay. And that's a big part of what meditation does. Is meditation, it exposes you to that extreme boredom, and your thoughts come in and out, and you learn that it's okay. It's okay to have a scattered brain. It's okay to not be in control of your thoughts. It's okay to be bored. And if you feel depression, a lot of the reason why depression lasts forever for some people is because they're constantly trying to run away from it. But if you sit with your depression, it'll suck for a while, but over time, it loses its power. Or not always, but a lot of times. Anxiety is easier, in my opinion. Anxiety is easier. For me, I don't get anxious anymore, but I do get depressed. I find anxiety is all about exposure and allowing it to happen. It's like, if I ever feel depressed, I'm okay with it, because what the fuck is my feeling inside going to do on the outside world? I feel anxious, because, there's a group of people I'm about to talk to, like, what the fuck? Like, they're not going to do anything. The feeling only exists in me. The fight or flight exists in me. It's a world that I'm creating inside my head. It does not exist in reality. It exists in my head. but people, they think anxiety is like some kind of external reality. It's not. They're like, oh, but every time I go in the darkness, like I feel the anxiety. It's like, yeah, but the darkness is not harming you. Your perception of the darkness is harming you. And you got to go in there and you got to feel it and realize it's not actually worth the fight or flight. But again, it to some degree, it does depend on what fight or flight is going on. All right, you guys, ask me another question, then I'll answer. Going on an hour and 30 minutes now. I'm the guy who'll sit on YouTube Live for 4 hours answering questions because I love it. Any questions, make sure that you ask them and I will answer on this beautiful Christmas question and answer session. Merry Christmas, you guys. Merry fucking Christmas. Merry Christmas to you. Merry fucking Christmas. The evidence on trans fats. What about the evidence on trans? So what about them Cavs? What about them Spurs? What about the evidence on trans fats? So what about the evidence on trans fats? Let's see, evidence on trans fats. So for me personally, there's a lot of things to discuss when we're talking about the evidence for trans fats or for vegetables or refined sugar. The first one, and one of the biggest sources of evidence, is ever since Crisco and other forms of trans fat started to come into the food supply, we actually see a linear line, like a direct line in between, the first couple of years that these trans fats are put in the food supply and incidences of heart disease specifically, but also cancer and diabetes to some extent. And that's the first one. But correlation doesn't equal causation. And at the same time that we see this direct linear line, this correlation between these diseases and trans fats, we also see an increase in caloric consumption, an increase in food availability, and an increase in all refined foods. So it's not just an increase in, trans fats that's causing that. But pretty much every single intervention trial that removes trans fats also shows a decrease in your risk for heart disease. And cohort studies that show things like, high intake of fruits and vegetables results in, or is correlated with lower risk of heart disease. A lot of the reason why these fruits and vegetables correlate is because they're removing these other foods like trans fats. Now, as far as specific evidence on trans fats, there's quite a few cohort studies that correlate the two, but they also have confounding factors. Things like refined sugars are not accounted for, and then also what they deem as trans fats. So it can be very hard to interpret a lot of that evidence. Obviously there's mechanistic data that shows that trans fats seem to actually cause damage to endothelial, or the endothelium. But I'm going to have to actually find individual studies and post them in a separate video, because that's a very deep topic. And I do actually believe that more videos need to be coming out with referencing studies on trans fats. But I think a lot of people just take for granted this idea that trans fats creates diseases and things. I want to see more evidence narrowing down sugar and trans fats as a causal factor in most diseases. But most of the evidence we have, what it really shows is if you remove refined foods, including trans fats, or not trans fats, but hydrogenated oils. That's another thing is we have different trans fats. We have CLA, and we have there's a couple of naturally occurring trans fats that actually seem to have beneficial effects, but it's the hydrogenated oils, these industrial created trans fats that seem to be the main problem. Where basically they take an unsaturated fat, they add a hydrogen ion to it, and then it creates a saturated fat, like an artificial saturated fat. Those are the ones that there's so much evidence against trans fats now, against hydrogenated oils, that the FDA has banned them. Yeah, milk and dairy products have CLA. And there's some people that believe the homogenization of milk modifies the fats in a way that can actually make them act similarly to trans fats. Some people claim, or act similarly to, I guess like a rancid vegetable oil or something. But for me personally, observing all the people that I know that have had heart attacks, they all have been consuming margarine for most of their life. And a lot of them, for one, they never eat real butter, and they hardly ever eat red meat. Cheese is like the main source of saturated fat in the American diet, and it actually comes from pizza, from the food data that I've seen, which is interesting. So is it the cheese, or is it the fucking crust? Is it the pizza that's causing the problems, Yeah, but I don't know. I'm actually starting to crash down. I think I need some water or something. All right, you guys, ask me more questions, because if I don't get more questions here in like 2 minutes, then I'm gonna end the live stream, because I need to drink some water and then probably start going to bed. So ask me your questions, and I will get on with the show. But yeah, there's too many people that I know that have had heart disease and cancer as well. And the main food that they were eating, like most of their calories from, was like country crock. I'm not going to name names, but a lot of my family members who have had cancer or heart disease, that was the main food they were eating. And then also mostly the cohort studies and the correlation data, for me personally, is strong enough. Yeah, I mean, see, a study showing that mixing carbs and saturated fats, that there's so many variables involved in that. I've seen intervention trials where they actually replace saturated fats with unsaturated fats, and they found a decreased risk in heart disease, which is weird. But I've also seen studies where they substituted unsaturated fats for saturated fats, and they've actually found a decrease in heart disease risk. From what I've seen from the data, what it seems to show is, first and foremost, if you stick to whole foods. Okay, let's see. Andres Carrillo Estrada says, "What's the best diet for cancer? My aunt was just diagnosed." I personally believe that a ketogenic diet is absolutely, in my opinion, the best diet for cancer. I actually did an interview with my friend Jason, who on my channel is available. I'll find the link for you real quick, and I'll link it down. He actually put his leukemia into remission on a ketogenic diet, where he was eating conventionally raised ground turkey, like super cheap ground turkey, and super cheap eggs. And he put his cancer in remission on that diet, and he kept it in remission. It's been in remission for over 3 years now. And I believe it's because insulin resistance is the primary driving factor in cancer growth, in my opinion. And doctors don't use fasting insulin tests, so they can't really test that, or they don't generally test that. And then there's also a researcher named Thomas Segfried, who's pioneering the what is it? It's the Otto Warburg type theory on cancer, and he's doing all the research on ketogenic diets. Let me look it up for you real quick. Leukemia Slayer, interview, keto. See if that will bring it up. And obviously the algorithm is not going to bring it up for me. Oh my God. This algorithm is horrible. Can't even find my own fucking video on the search. How the fuck am I not finding? How am I not finding my own video? I'm searching up the exact title of my fucking video, my channel name, and it doesn't bring up the fucking video. What kind of shit is that? You have chronic fatigue syndrome. ME. Do you mean MS? ME? Merry Christmas, Vince. ME, if I can think about what that might be. So chronic fatigue syndrome. What type of diet? So what are your symptoms exactly? What are your symptoms of chronic fatigue syndrome? Okay. So interview with Leukemia Slayer. Why the fuck is it not? It's not bringing up the fucking video. What in the hell? Wow. What kind of crap is that? I can't believe I can't even find my own fucking video using the search engine and putting the exact thing in. Post-nutritional malaise. So are you telling me you have overtraining syndrome? So precious metals, tell me what your exact symptoms are.
How's it going, you guys?
Also tell me, have you been diagnosed by a doctor? That's the other thing. Okay. Let's see if I could find it now. Where is the video? Da 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 da. Looking for the video. Da da da. Damn, boy. You gotta be kidding me. How am I not finding my own video? That sucks. Let's see. Yeah, so post-exertional malaise. Flu-like symptoms. Yes, I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome. Okay. So have you been a chronic athlete for most of your life? More specifically, an endurance athlete. What in the hell? Am I seriously? I can't find my own fucking video now. That really is crazy that YouTube will censor videos like that. That's fucking crazy. Wow. Damn, son. Yeah, but I have an interview with my friend, and he put his cancer in remission on a ketogenic diet. But basically, if you are, so if you have cancer, that would be something I look into, and I believe it's Thomas. Is it Dr.? It's Professor Thomas Siegfried. Cannot believe I can't find that interview. Yeah, Seyfried, Thomas Seyfried, cancer as a metabolic disease. I will put that in the comment section. Am I back on keto? Actually, I'm training for a grappling competition in March where I'm planning on getting double gold in the gi and no gi on the white belt division in jiu-jitsu. check that link. It's pretty complicated maybe, but basically what the professor is saying is that cancer seems to be caused by reactive oxygen species, which is basically a fancy term for oxidative damage. So basically deep cellular damage. And that deep cellular damage, that reactive oxygen species, oxidative stress, it's caused by many things. It's caused by certain compounds that is found in like blackening food. It's found in smoking, eating smoked foods. But more specifically, these compounds are actually created inside of us when we ingest sugar. And when we metabolize carbohydrates, they can kind of like break down cells. And also they can increase hormones like IGF-1. And so when you go on a ketogenic diet, what happens is you produce less of these compounds, less reactive oxygen species. You produce less damage by metabolizing carbs. So you're producing less damage. And the damage that's produced from carbohydrates is the main creation of cancer cells. The second thing is ketogenic metabolism actually directly reduces reactive oxygen species indirectly. So basically, ketones are anti-inflammatory. Producing energy from ketones produce less reactive oxygen species. And there's other processes like greater recycling of amino acids in the bloodstream, sparing of leucine. And so we have a lot of anti-inflammatory, anti-catabolic processes that go on in ketogenic state. We have more autophagy, so more recycling of cells, and less reactive oxygen species being produced. So in my opinion, it's a prime cancer healing state to be in on a ketogenic diet combined with fasting especially. And that's what he talks about basically. Yeah, but it's the carbs that are creating it. Hi, Tiger Lily Akana says, hi, Wolfgang. Hello there, Tiger Lily. Hello there. I appreciate all your comments, by the way, Tiger Lily. I love seeing your comments on my videos. Yeah, so Andres, yeah, I mean, it's very common for people to eat a high-carb diet most of their life. And what happens is they develop insulin resistance, and they may not be diagnosed with diabetes, and they may not have like a high hemoglobin A1C, but they probably have a very high fasting insulin, and doctors don't test fasting insulin. So they can't detect, they could usually detect diabetes 10 years in advance if they use a fasting insulin test. And I guarantee if she did a fasting insulin test, she'd find she has extremely high insulin on a regular basis. She probably has insulin resistance, and that's probably what's driving the cancer. But it depends on what type of cancer. What type of cancer does she have? Because there are hormonal cancers like breast cancer, ovarian cancer, what else? Prostate cancer. These things can be caused by hormonal imbalances, and diet might help, but not nearly as much as other factors like birth control, for example, can cause hormonal imbalances that can lead to breast cancer and ovarian cancer. Oh, loss of body fat. Oh, it's breast cancer. Yeah, my sister actually died of breast cancer. So first of all, hormonal imbalances in women, things like PCOS and breast cancer, ovarian cysts and whatnot, can be triggered by insulin resistance. And so, in my opinion, going on a ketogenic diet could probably, I mean, it definitely won't hurt. And it will trigger a whole bunch of metabolic processes that should aid in putting that cancer in remission. I really wish that YouTube would bring up that fucking video, that interview I did with my friend Jason. I'm gonna look for it, you guys. I'm gonna fucking post it. Because yeah, it's just kind of like hilarious that they're trying to censor us with that. Maybe I could put that in a maybe I could put that in a playlist or something so I could bring it up easier. Oh, she was low in vitamin D. Yeah, low vitamin D can also cause that. Have I ever heard of Joe Tippins? Is that a porn star? I have not heard of Joe Tippins. Dengue? Oh, sorry, Precious Metals, for not answering your question. Are you still there? I'm going to actually do a brief search so I can answer your question. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So you know what? You probably have Epstein-Barr's. You probably have Epstein-Barr. So Precious Metals, have you gotten tests for the Epstein-Barr virus? That's actually that's Epstein-Barr is generally a is generally what most people find is causing their chronic fatigue. And if you've been bit by a mosquito and you've gotten a virus from a mosquito previously, I mean, that's a very common thing. It's like a post-viral syndrome. So I should probably make a video about, oh, you have gotten tests for Epstein-Barr. So yeah. Have you tried a ketogenic diet? There's a lot of people who have used keto, specifically carnivore for Lyme's disease, as well as some of these others. Now, of course, there's herbs and things that might help, and maybe chaga mushroom might be beneficial along with some cordyceps. Oh, which one you're on carnivore right now? Because carnivore should help if you've passed the first 4 weeks. Let's see. Did you find that video for us? Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Hey. Okay, so Roxa Leu found the video for us. How did you find that video so fast?
How's it going, everybody? So this is Wolfgang von Latman Lozano. Y'all already know.
Wow. I had a black eye in that video. Okay, Precious Metals. This might be a little too restrictive for you, but I know a lot of people have had really good success with carnivore, putting some of these tick and mosquito-borne viruses into remission, going on carnivore. Maybe you should try it. But another thing, antiviral. So maybe try something like Golden Seal. Because I had a friend who actually had he had Epstein-Barr real bad, and he had some problems. But yeah, Andres, check out that video that Roxalou linked. I'm gonna post it again right here. That video you should probably show to your aunt. There's a lot of stuff like that. So Dom D'Agostino, I believe, has some research on it. Professors Thomas Siegfried. Yeah, so carnivore and supplements. So if you're on go on carnivore. Increase your sodium intake to 5 grams a day. 5 grams of sodium. That's 1 whole tablespoon a day, spread throughout the day. And then, maybe try Golden Seal. Golden Seal is a very potent antiviral. So, if you suspect you still have some of the virus in you, which you probably do, Golden Seal. Also, a lot of people have had very good success with St. John's wort as an antiviral. And obviously, it also has some antidepressant benefits, which might give you an energy boost, possibly. It's a good choice or something to try. And then, maybe try a Echinacea Golden Seal tincture, something like mixed. I like the one by Herb Farm. I find it's very effective. And I would say maybe try increasing your regular intake of raw garlic, because raw garlic has very potent antibacterial and antiviral properties. And it also has the benefit of stimulating circulation and stimulating blood flow, as well as perspiration. And that can not only kill any potential viral load you might have in you, potentially, but it'll also boost your energy by increasing circulation. And while it's not carnivore approved, it does have very potent benefits for the purpose that you are seeking. So, eliminating the viral load is probably what you should be focused on right now. And those herbs, I believe, specifically will help. Cordyceps is also a very good herb or mushroom that can help with chronic fatigue syndrome, specifically boosting energy. And I recommend if you really have the money for it and you don't want to fuck around with some low quality shit, Hyperion Herbs, Brandon Gilbert's company, is amazing. And for people who need it for like real fucking medicine, I would look into getting chaga and cordyceps from Brandon Gilbert's company. The cordyceps will help not only with your immune system, but mostly with increasing your energy. And the chaga, I haven't researched enough, but I believe chaga can also help you with Epstein-Barr. So let's see. Yeah. Chaga and Epstein-Barr virus. There's people who are claiming fucking chaga mushroom kills Epstein-Barr. So I'm not going to tell you that it kills Epstein-Barr, but the first thing I thought of was chaga after those other herbs. Golden seal, yeah, the herb form, golden seal with echinacea, a tablespoon of sea salt if you're on a carnivore keto diet, St. John's wort, raw garlic, and then chaga and cordyceps. And if you're desperate, so Brandon Gilbert's company. And for those of you who are interested in some very high quality, not only herb content, but also self-development content, I really like Brandon Gilbert's videos, not only his herbs, but his videos from like his early fucking videos from like 2010 to 2015. He had some amazing fucking content, but he kind of just lost his passion for making the videos. I'm gonna post the website real quick. Hyperion Herbs, that's fucking badass. Highest quality medicinal mushrooms and tonic herbs you can buy. Due to back pain, extreme leg weakness, I've been going to the doctors and found low vitamin D. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. All right. I found low vitamin D. I've been taking for 1 year, but leg weakness remains. I've been injured. Okay. So, Vince, you have leg weakness and leg pain. What type of vitamin D have you been taking and what dose? First of all, I'm going to get some water real quick. I'm going to bring it over here because I'm so thirsty. God damn it. I'm like tripping all over the place. I ordered B1. Oh, thanks. You have multiple sclerosis. So first of all, if your doctor thinks you have a serious disease like multiple sclerosis, don't believe them until you get a fucking MRI, until you get a test. I think with multiple sclerosis, you can get an MRI. Man, I feel dehydrated as shit right now. It's crazy. Let's see. I'm getting great questions now, guys. The late nighters got the best questions. Let's see. Yeah, so, okay, 10,000 IUs of vitamin D3 K2. What form of K2 are you taking? If it's MK7, you might want to switch to MK4. But yeah, you should have noticed a difference by now. But have you tested your vitamin D levels again? Is your vitamin D still low? because your vitamin D is so low, then the weakness can still be caused by the vitamin D. You just got to figure out how to get have you tested your vitamin D again? Let's see. Oh yeah, no contrast. That I said if often during illness. Oh, I see. So you didn't have MS. So if you did have multiple sclerosis, Chair, you are the only person I actually agree with. I have had this for 5 years and spent more than $1,000. Yeah. Yeah. I've had this for 5 years. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and a lot of doctors, functional medicine practitioners, and alternative medicine doctors, like either they don't know what to test for, or they just assume you have a certain problem, or they're just trying to sell you a bunch of supplements and shit. But yeah, to be completely honest, though, Epstein-Barr virus and some of these other like viruses that cause post-viral fatigue and things like that. I mean, those are hard problems to crack. Those are some of the problems that I'm not entirely certain on, because they're different things work for different people. For some people, they notice carnivore resolves their symptoms. For others, they notice that they need like a certain herb. But I've heard a lot about chaga and cordyceps for those types of issues. So, and if you buy from Brandon Gilbert's Hyperion Herbs Company, at least you know that you're giving it an honest try. So, Andres, if you're still there, you're asking for tips on lowering cortisol. Can you tell me, why do you want to lower your cortisol, Andres? So cortisol is not necessarily something you want to lower. Cortisol is released in response to pain, because cortisol can actually be an anti-inflammatory substance. If you have low cortisol all the time, then you can have an overactive inflammation response. So you don't really want to lower your cortisol. And usually when people ask how to lower cortisol, what they really mean is, how can I stop feeling stressed? Because it's not, just because you feel stressed doesn't mean you have a cortisol problem. Low cortisol is a problem. If you have low cortisol, you have low motivation, can't wake up in the morning. That's a serious issue. Let me see. So, but yeah, as far as your, so you haven't, so I would go and get another vitamin D test, because you might still have low vitamin D. So you should probably get another vitamin D test. But if you get another vitamin D test and you find that your vitamin D is in the normal range, then you might have another problem. So generally, leg weakness and pain is caused when people sit too much. What is your exercise regime like, Vince? Vince, if you have a sitting job and you don't really exercise very much, your leg weakness and your leg pain is almost certainly caused by muscular imbalances and a lack of exercise. And I, as a personal trainer, I can tell you, so many people overcomplicate very simple problems that are caused by inactivity. So Andres, OCD. So when you say you have obsessive compulsive disorder, have you been diagnosed by a professional, or do you mean that you have obsessive tendencies? 1/2 an hour a day on a bike. So honestly, Vince, I've actually experienced a lot of leg and hip and lower back pain when I ride my bicycle for a long period of time, which kind of sucks because I love riding my bicycle. And I'm not saying riding a bicycle is definitely the cause of the problem, but I'm saying it can actually trigger problems. Do you stretch? And if you do, how often do you stretch? And yeah, I mean the EO nutrition and whatnot, the B1, that might be it. You can try the B1, but I would say you should look into stretching your psoas muscle and go. And if you're not stretching, you need to spend a lot of time stretching. I know I need to stretch a lot more myself. Do more like free flowing, kind of like large circular movements with your arms and your legs. Look into things like yoga. Uh, Look into like karate katas and stuff like that so that you can get more free flowing range of motion. Oh, so you have back problems? So, Steven, you're looking for supplements and things when you have some very clear muscular issues, musculoskeletal issues. So, as a personal trainer for over 6 years, and somebody's been studying all these supplements and whatnot, I can tell you, your leg issue can be very tightly related to your back issue. So it's probably a good idea to look into how to, fix your back. Because probably if you fix your back, you'll fix your leg issue. But what's wrong with your back, Vince? That's another very important thing. Okay, so you have intrusive thoughts and your mind is constantly on broken record mode. So Andres, you don't have obsessive compulsive disorder. What you have is a mind issue. So Andres, what type of intrusive thoughts do you have? If you have suicidal thoughts, if you have intrusive thoughts about harming other people, if you have intrusive thoughts about, any kind of like dangerous harming yourself, harming others, or something like that type of thoughts, you should definitely look into getting yourself a clinical psychologist. And if it's really like, if it's like really, really bad, you should look into a psychiatrist as well. Psychologists will help you with talk therapy and can help you to understand your thoughts and maybe, build strategies and help you understand why they happen. And a psychiatrist is a last ditch effort if you're like on the verge of doing something crazy, that they'll give you some medication or something, which, for me personally, I only, consider when it's like a last ditch effort, because honestly, it's a lot better to get medication than to do something, that you're going to regret later. But if it's just some intrusive thoughts like, oh, I'm not good enough, oh, I should be more successful than I am, or something like that, intrusive thoughts from the past, those things have to do with discipline, mental discipline, and you have to cultivate. You have to train your brain. You literally have to train your brain. So when I slack on my meditation, when I slack on my flow state activities, when I slack on my mental training, I also have intrusive thoughts. Thoughts about the past and thoughts about things I can't change, and they're bad. And if I let them happen, then they can consume me. A huge problem that seems to make this worse is scrolling through social media. So the worst thing that you can do when you have intrusive thoughts is try to escape them with alcohol, or try to escape them with other drugs, or try to escape them with social media. Stay away from your phone, stay away from social media, look into no surf. Looking at no surf, and stay away from autopilot activity. Work more on mindfulness. So Andres, you also asked me, what did you ask me? Where is it? What are my thoughts on cannabis for pain and anxiety? So Andres asked, what are my thoughts on cannabis for pain and anxiety? So, you know, here's the thing about cannabis. I am definitely not against it. It's a very effective natural medicine. I know people who use it for pain and whatnot, and I know people use it for sleep very effectively. It's a very beneficial medicine. The problem I have with cannabis is two things. The first thing is everybody that I know that use cannabis on a regular basis, they have a really bad problem with handling their life. And, again, I'm not against it, but I've had so many close friends over my entire lifetime. I've had close family members. Some people, I'm not even going to say specifically, but people who were very, very close to me. It ruined their entire life. Like, it's not like meth. It's not like alcohol. It's not physically harmful. It doesn't cause you to do crazy things, but it makes people lazy. And I actually did smoke marijuana for like 2 months. And at first it was great, but then it started to cause like outer body experiences and depersonalization for me. And actually triggered my panic attacks, and it triggered my long period of growth that led to where I am today. But marijuana, I don't think it's a good thing to rely on for anxiety, because anxiety is a good thing. Anxiety is what's going to help you level up in life. Anxiety is going to help you, become better. If you have social anxiety, that's actually a good thing. It can help you get the social life you want if you can overcome it. If you have work life anxiety, marijuana can actually prevent you from ever like actually overcoming your life problems. So I think you should figure out where the anxiety is coming from and actually solve that problem head on, in my opinion. And since you're talking about intrusive thoughts, marijuana can help if they're like terrible. Like if you have really bad intrusive thoughts, and marijuana helps, it's better than like being miserable. And it's a good thing if it can make you functional. But again, it can make you lazy. I know people who they lose their job or whatever, and then they spend months like jobless because they're smoking weed the whole time, and they're spending money they don't have, and they're able to like remain unemployed, and it doesn't bother them because they're just high all the time. And I think that's a problem. I know a lot of people who like lose their house, they lose their relationship, they lose everything because they're so fucking lazy, because all they do is smoke weed. Now, I'm not saying weed is bad. I'm not saying all people that smoke weed are that way, but I'm saying that that's a very serious like detriment that weed can have on people. So let's see, precious metals. Do you have a protocol for small fiber neuropathy? So honestly, you should also look into vitamin B1 therapy, like Vince has been talking about, because vitamin B1, there's a guy out there, his name is called EO Nutrition. This is a YouTube name, and he talks about using vitamin B1 for neuropathy and for chronic fatigue syndrome. So you might want to look into EO Nutrition in his video about vitamin B1 and neuropathy. If I come up with anything like a protocol for fiber neuropathy, then I'll make a video about it. But I would recommend you check out vitamin B1 and check out EO Nutrition, his video on it. Vince says, my back is much better now, but my legs will go out sometimes, and I do get scared to walk because I'm walking, my knees locked. Oh, and he says, Vince says, Merry Christmas. I got a new Rottweiler puppy. I'm so happy. Thanks for making great videos and helping some. Yeah. Merry Christmas to you, Vince. So honestly, your back problem is probably what's causing your main issues. And I really hope that you can get that fixed. Look into corrective exercises. If I knew what specific back problem you have, maybe I can help you out further. If it's something like a disc problem or something like that, then that's a really hard problem to overcome. But Merry Christmas to you too. And, I just love helping people, so it's really no problem. Thank you for watching my videos, Vince. Definitely make sure to subscribe and be on the lookout for future videos. And if you have any suggestions, let me know, and I'll make a video to cover whatever topic it is that you want me to cover. But if I knew what your back problem was, and I could probably help you further with that. Andres says that no doubt some people get lazy. For me, it helps me get deep sleep, as I have very restless sleep, which triggers a lot of my thought process. I wake up exhausted. I'm a full-time professional who works out every day, smokes at night. What do you do for a living? I'm actually curious. That sounds like a cool lifestyle. A lot of my clients personally, as a trainer, they have like some serious professional jobs, and so I train them at the night. Honestly, like I said, like some people that I know, very close people to me, they also use marijuana and some of these like THC and CBD to help them sleep. And yeah, I mean, I think that's perfectly fine. And as you were saying before, you were saying, a lack of sleep is a huge trigger. Yeah, I agree. And, for me, my mental health goes out the fucking window if I don't have enough sleep. And I do this security gig on Sunday mornings where I got to wake up extra early at like 6 in the morning. And I almost never sleep that night. It's terrible. And then I'm out there like guarding this fucking medical center, making sure people keep their masks on, even though I don't really believe in the whole, I don't think I don't really fucking care about masks, but I got to enforce it. I'm all low on sleep. It's fucking terrible. Social media is a big one because, intrusive thoughts are a problem of a lack of control of your mind. And social media is the opposite of controlling your mind. Social media is autopilot, and what you want is mindfulness and discipline. So social media is completely incompatible with what it is that you need to accomplish. So if you want to, I've gotten this question earlier on. The first question I had was someone who said that they can't control their emotions and they're wanting a supplement. They're wanting to take tyrosine to control their emotions. But what they really need is to remove autopilot behavior and start to train mental discipline, start to train their mind to, instead of autopilot, manual pilot. So you need to focus. You need to develop that tool. Oh, you're a graphic designer. Hey, that's badass. My younger brother is a major software developer for AT&T. So I really respect that. Those are badass jobs to get into. If you feel like looking into this topic, it's interesting. Hey, Vince, if you can tell me what your back problem is so I can help you with your leg issue. Andres says, I think my main problem is that my methylation inflammation. I have to have diet perfect and sleep perfect and I feel great. So, I mean, that's another thing, because I try to emphasize, developing mental discipline and these things, because so many people rely too much on changing their diet and their supplements without developing the very skill that they're having the problem with, like mental discipline. But it's true that diet plays a huge role in that as well. So if you notice that you get your methylation on check, you take things like MSM and maybe some SAMe and some methylated vitamins like methylfolate and whatnot. Take some other methyl donors and then, eat a diet that supports methylation. And it would make sense that you would feel good. And also, Andres, if you take B vitamin complex vitamins and you feel worse, that's also a sign that you have a methylation issue. So, chronic fatigue syndrome, what is your opinion on very high vitamin D protocol? So, I don't really think vitamin D is like necessary or beneficial for Epstein-Barr. But I think vitamin D is there's a strong correlation between vitamin D and chronic fatigue syndrome. So my opinion on very high vitamin D is this: go get a blood test for vitamin D if you're serious about it. And if you have low vitamin D levels, supplement with megadoses of vitamin D. I would say 40,000 IUs every day for 2 weeks, and then cut it down to about 10,000 IUs for another 2 weeks. Then you can cut it down to like 5,000 for a maintenance dose. And after 2 months, you should notice a huge difference. And if you don't, 4 months, you should notice a huge difference. But if you have low vitamin D, that protocol should work. No doubt. You megadose 40,000 IUs for 2 weeks, and then 10,000 IUs for another 2 weeks. That's a full month. But then you lower it down to a maintenance dose of 5,000, and you will surely get to where you need to be. If I remember correctly, ideal is around 40, but I should probably look just to make sure. I'm gonna see what that link is real quick. It better not be something stupid. Why am I opening up links on a live stream? Oh, drug kill.
If you're a responsibly armed American,
Yeah, I don't know which one this is. Oh, Sheep Jog for Dog. Yeah, so I've seen that video before. So yeah, I've seen that video, if I remember correctly. So Vince posted a link to a dog drug that cured some guy's cancer, and there's a whole group of people now that claim that drug healed their cancer, and then also healed other diseases too. And then I think like the CDC or the FDA or something try to come out with some kind of regulation on that drug. It was really, really sketchy. So I haven't done enough research into the mechanisms of action of that drug, but I hear about stuff like that all the fucking time. And I'll tell you this, I wouldn't doubt it, but I also would definitely recommend anyone with cancer to like really research what they're doing. You want to make sure whatever therapy you do is at least not going to make shit worse. You know what I mean? So let's see. What is your opinion? Let's see. Where am I? Yeah. So like I was saying, I think for vitamin D status, I believe it's 40, but I think 30 is at the low end of normal. It's been a while since I've looked into this. Let's see. Yeah, actually. So yeah, 20 to 40 nanograms per milliliter. So others recommend 30 and 50. Yeah. So for me, I recognize 30 as like at the low end of normal, in my opinion. And I would think 40 is ideal. And according to what I just looked up, between 30 and 50 nanograms per milliliter is generally recommended. So 40 would be spot on, in my opinion. But 30 is definitely not like low enough for you to have like debilitating symptoms. But you're at the area where you could probably, I would not recommend you megadose. Like if you have a 30 nanograms per milliliter of vitamin D, you're normal enough to where you probably shouldn't megadose. You should probably do, no more than 10,000 IUs a day for a short period of time. I'd say if you do 10,000 IUs a day for 2 weeks, you'll probably get your levels up to like 40. But I think you can cruise at like a maintenance dose of like maybe 5,000 IUs a day, and you should be fine. And see if you notice benefit after a month. If you don't, I would cut it off because your vitamin D levels are not terrible. Once you pass 50 nanograms per milliliter, I would say, you're risking like a vitamin A deficiency or, some type of adverse effect. Enzymes helped a lot. Yeah, Andres, that's really weird that enzymes helped you with intrusive thoughts. If enzymes help you with intrusive thoughts, that is a sign that maybe you're having digestive problems. So you said you had your DNA tested for MTHFR, but so did you test positive? Like, what was the test result? Because if you have a methylation problem, then you should definitely supplement with methylation factors, and only supplement with methylated forms of B vitamins. And you should supplement methylated forms of B vitamins. Make sure your folate status is on check. You know, eat a shit ton of liver, in my opinion. You know, so man, it's getting pretty late. You guys start rolling in the questions for me. You know, ask more questions here so I can get it on. Get out till the early morning. Dun, 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 dun. Get out to the early morning. Dun, 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 dun. All right, you guys that are watching, ask me some questions. I'm gonna be getting off here in a bit. It's getting pretty late. Shit, this is a badass live stream too. I'm actually gonna post this to Facebook. Man, it's not gonna log me in. Fuck it. Let's see. What is this? I was bedridden for 3 years. Wow, that's insane. Yeah, I mean, so if you're bedridden for 3 years, I mean, so, you know, again, obviously I'm not a doctor or anything, but if you're bedridden for 3 years, you have osteoporosis, probably maybe partially due to nutrition, but also because you're not putting your body under enough stress to maintain bone mass, let alone muscle mass. And so slowly getting your body up to par to exercise, and maybe trying to increase your, I mean, I don't even know if this is possible at this point, but increase your bone mass through gradual exercise, starting really low. And obviously, you know, taking the proper supplements, eating the proper diet. In my opinion, an animal-based diet that's supplemented with, you know, the cofactors required to produce bone. I think it's MRM or Jarrow. They have like a really good bone supplement. I think the Maximize Bone by MRM or Bone Up by Jarrow, I think is a good supplement to take, and just remove all the other supplements. But that's a really really sensitive issue. And I think you're doing a lot of the main things that most people would tell you to do. And if your vitamin D is 30, it's 30 right now, I mean, I'll tell you this, you definitely don't have osteoporosis because your vitamin D is low, you know, because people don't have osteoporosis from low vitamin D until their D level is like down below 20. Dodgy MTHFR. For some reason, my food wasn't getting absorbed properly, always moody and on edge. Fixing my stomach started to get me better. Yeah, definitely. I mean, that sounds logical. You know, the same thing happened to me. I went on the paleo diet, and pretty much all my problems went away. Emerald Light says, thoughts on reincarnation. Thoughts. What are my thoughts on reincarnation? So my thoughts on reincarnation, I think that's a interesting thing to contemplate, but I personally don't invest much time into thinking about that, because I don't believe it's possible to prove that whether reincarnation is possible, is logical, whether it's true or false. You can't tell. So I think anyone who talks about reincarnation and believes it's possible, it's mostly mental masturbation, in my opinion. But it might be true. There's a lot of people, a lot of very smart people who believe in reincarnation. So I generally don't think as much about those types of things these days because I don't see any point in it. But let's see. Yeah, reincarnation. No, not a whole lot of thoughts on reincarnation in that regard. Maybe if I see some kind of proof or something that reincarnation is real, lots of people tripping on shrooms and DMT and whatnot will tell you that reincarnation is what happens after you die. But I don't really believe that. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, summary of this entire live stream is, look, you avoid refined foods, you eat whole foods, and find the foods that you're intolerant to, remove them, and then take the survey on Mark Hyman's website, the Ultramind Solution. He has like a whole PDF for free called the Ultramind Companion, and basically it is like a quiz, and it's for free, and you can answer the questions to each quiz. It will give you a little score, and it'll tell you what vitamins and minerals and enzymes and things you might be deficient in. And it has one for methylation, so that's interesting. So I think it's good that people are starting to think about things like MTHFR and methylation pathways, and it's good that people are thinking about things like dopamine and tyrosine, because those are the ways of thinking that have helped me the most in my health journey. I'll tell you, the worst thing people can get into is this idea that they got to detoxify their fucking body with like these juice cleanses and fasting, and people who think they need to take chlorella, spirulina to cleanse their body of these like imaginary toxins. And also a lot of these other people who talk about like, intracellular heavy metals that you've got to like detoxify yourself with. And there's a lot of like really bad fucking information out there. There's a lot of really bad hocus pocus charlatans out there in the alternative health space. And so when I first got into natural medicine, I was like so pissed off because all these mainstream medical people, they would claim like all alternative medicine is quackery. But now, since I'm like 8 years deep into this, I've seen so much bullshit that I don't blame them, I guess. Like I kind of can understand why alternative medicine is met with so much scrutiny now. There is bullshit and charlatans and scammers in mainstream medical profession and alternative medicine as well. So, there's plenty of doctors who like, get people on medications they don't need, just like there's plenty of alternative health people who get them on herbs they don't need. Nearly killed myself with turpentine, Precious Metals says. Yeah, honestly, you're not alone, unfortunately. As sad as that is, so many people. You know what, though? And that's exactly that. That sums up everything. That sums up like detoxification in a nutshell. I got to get myself on a fucking raw fruit juice cleanse. I eat nothing but fucking grape juice for 30 days. I'm a grapefruit juicitarian. Detoxifying till my limbs fall off, motherfucker. A lot of these people, man, like if you look at, and another thing is, so I don't advocate veganism, but I'll admit the majority of these like vegans who like made these ex-vegan videos, they were the crazy ones who did these like raw vegan cleanses and whatnot. Tim Sheaf came off of like a 30-day fast, but he was already suffering, and that's why he did the fast. Bobby's perspective was one who claimed that, veganism malnourished him, but the pictures he used was only after like he starved himself for 30 days. Like most of these, like that's like the worst thing you can do is like juice fasting and raw food for like a long period of time. I think like raw plant or like raw fruits and like meat is not a bad idea, because that's a diet I've done successfully for a long, forever. That was a diet that originally healed me of most of my problems. Was, I ate fruit, I ate meat, and then I ate like some cooked broccoli, cooked carrots and cruciferous, and some like leafy greens, and I was fine. But removing meat and just eating raw fruit is going to cause a lot of deficiency. Eating just meat, if you don't do it right, can cause a lot of problems too. You got to really know how to supplement with salt and whatnot. But I think people tend to do better with just meat than they do with just fruit. Let's see here. Get some sleep. Thanks for your input. Yeah, thanks Andres for your comments and your questions. I really appreciate it. These are some really good questions we got in this live stream, and I do love Dr. Hyman too. I mean, he has a lot of amazing information out there. He's one of the best functional medicine doctors in this whole community, and he has a lot of really balanced information. Some of it's kind of questionable, like this big emphasis on phytonutrients and the microbiome and whatnot. But out of all the alternative medicine practitioners that are out there, I think Dr. Mark Hyman's one of the best. He has books on everything, and the big thing is he changed his opinion on fat. When the evidence started to shift that saturated fat was not bad, he actually changed his opinion. So maybe it's because he wanted to capitalize on the keto money, but I think he is just up to date on the science. And I like someone who can change their opinion for the sake of scientific accuracy. So Mark Hyman's great. Let's see. Yeah, I think 8 months on low-fat vegan contributed to my osteoporosis and worsened my chronic fatigue syndrome. Hey, Precious Metals, so you didn't tell me you're on a low-fat vegan diet. Yeah, so I'm going to say that osteoporosis is not like a commonly cited issue that vegans come out and admit. I'll tell you this. First of all, there was a study that came out recently saying that vegans and heavily plant-based diets are at a greater risk for osteoporosis. It's been heavily criticized, that study, but I have noticed, first of all, definitely in the raw vegans, they lose a lot of bone mass as well as muscle mass and brain mass. They look like fucking skeletons. But I've also noticed regular vegans, over the years that they're vegan, their whole skeleton seems to just shrink. Their bones look like they shrink. I don't have a DEXA scan to prove it, but it does look to me like those diets can cause a decrease in bone mass. Honestly, I'm lucky that I didn't lose these giant forearms. I don't know how I didn't. I've always had giant bones. I'm just really glad that I didn't develop osteoporosis from my time as a vegan. I don't know if you guys know this, but I was vegan for an entire year, and it was stupid. Let's see. So yeah, I would say that that's, a horrible thing to do for chronic fatigue syndrome. Emerald Light says, thoughts on eating every 48 hours, 2 times all your calories and the protein and fat. Okay, so, look, my thoughts on eating every 48 hours and just doubling the calories. Why are you doing that? So if your goal is to improve your body composition, I've had a client who did alternate day fasting, where Jason Fung style. He was a big fan of his videos. I had a client who was 300 pounds. My client was 300 pounds. Actually, yeah, he was 300 pounds, and his deadlift was 300 pounds, and he dropped down to like 225, and increased his deadlift to 400 pounds within 2 months. So in 2 months, my client increased his deadlift by 100 pounds, and he lost almost 100 pounds of body weight by doing that alternate day fasting. And we did high intensity interval training mixed with heavy powerlifting. So I think that's pretty impressive. So if your goal is weight loss, like, just do alternate day fasting and don't worry about doubling up the calories. Just double up the protein. Now, if you're trying to do this fucking intermittent fasting for like cognitive benefits or cancer prevention benefits or longevity benefits, in my opinion, that's fucking dumb. I personally, I subscribe to a similar opinion that Rob Wolf does. I would watch Rob Wolf's videos on this. There's other people that share the same opinion, but basically, look, for longevity, the evidence suggests the best predictor of a healthy, disease-free, long life in old age and longer lifespan is actually muscle mass. And I don't believe intermittent fasting has magical muscle building properties. And this is coming from a guy who's actually fasted. I was doing intermittent fasting and keto leading up to my last Muay Thai fight. I was training Olympic weightlifting and powerlifting and MMA, doing intermittent fasting and keto for years. I don't recommend it for muscle mass. I don't recommend it for longevity. I just don't see, unless it's something that you enjoy doing, you can get some potential brain boosting benefits after 18 hours. You can get some sports performance benefits if you fast 16 hours, but anything over 24 hours is overkill unless you're trying to lose a shit ton of weight in a short amount of time. Eat clean, most problems will go away. Good meat, low carb, and no sugar processed foods. Yeah, I agree. And I think the carb is going to be variable depending on your exercise habits. Precious metals. I have been on keto now for 4 months. Do you feel a little better? I like your views on low carb carnivore and 1 tablespoon of salt. Vegan cause blood sugar fluctuations. So let's see. Precious metals. To heal your Epstein-Barr and your other viral issues, trying carnivore for another month might help. But if I had chronic fatigue syndrome and carnivore wasn't helping my viral load, I think the best diet for energy, and just because it's so easy to do, and to maintain a similar health profile as carnivore, is a autoimmune paleo diet, specifically eating mostly meat and then supplementing fruits. And this is kind of like an approach that I've kind of developed over 2020. But for a lot of people, carnivore just doesn't work. And so trying it for an issue like this is a good idea. But if it doesn't work, your ticket is probably going to be, especially because you have osteoporosis, you want to stay as far away from catabolism as you can. And I'm not saying keto causes osteoporosis. That's not what I'm saying at all. But you want to be eating carbs to be putting on more weight, and to be storing energy, because you're lacking energy. You have chronic fatigue. You're lacking energy. You also have chronic bone loss, so you're lacking materials to make the bone. So in my opinion, eating more fruit, eating meat, and then eventually after a while, seeing how you do on that. And if you're doing better, add sweet potatoes and see if that changes things in a bad way. And then add a shit ton of butter to those damn sweet potatoes. You need to be gaining weight, in my opinion. Not like getting fat, but like, you know, making sure you don't become a skinny twig, obviously, because keto and carnivore can make you keep dropping weight. I haven't really dropped any bad weight, obviously. I'm pretty jacked. That's my chest here. Yeah, if you tried carnivore already and you know you didn't see any benefit after 4 months, especially with the salt, because salt's a really big thing that people don't get enough of. You know, even on paleo. But yeah, try the autoimmune paleo diet. Stay away from the yeah. I would just go for meat, fruit, and then maybe add some tubers and butter in later. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna call it quits. It's almost 3 hours now. It's about 2 a.m. I'm tired as shit. I really appreciate it. You guys really helped to make my evening awesome. Helped me get in a flow state and helped me get in a really productive state of mind. Get some good quality help going. Some good quality questions have been answered. You know, and I really love doing this, and I'm just glad that I can help other people at the same time. Heart. Yeah, you know, and so I plan on doing these live streams more frequently. I'll probably do another live stream Sunday night, and probably Sunday nights or Sunday evenings are going to be my normal live streaming in the future. So look forward to more videos coming up soon. Thank you guys, and keep in mind I'll do more video responses to your questions on my videos. So in the future, when you start to leave questions on my videos, especially if you tell me to make a video about it, I'll try to make it a point to respond to your comments and videos. So Merry Christmas, everybody. You guys are awesome. Hope you guys have an awesome night. Have an awesome sleep. Where I'm at right now, it's 2 a.m. So we've been at this for about 3 hours. Good shit. Happy holidays. See you guys soon.